I'm Isyander.
And I'm Koda.
And we're back with new angles.
That we are.
And new lights. Yeah. So we've been gone
Slightly adjustable. I can customize them, and we can, be on camera at the same time.
And they are bright enough to actually kind of hurt to look at. So we are up, baby. And it's all thanks to y'all. We have been, well, not we, I have been inflected by Nurgle. I do not know what he put in the flu this time. But it has hands.
It's okay. It allowed me time to construct all of this.
It is commendable how strong that flu is. However, I'm back now. Still feel and sound so, bear with me. But today, we're talking about the poll winner.
It was actually very funny when we were doing when I was editing the Patreon video, because we did upload this Thursday. It was bizarre because I was trying to EQ the audio and I was coming out perfect. And I'm like, I cannot figure out what is wrong with Isyander's voice. Like, what is wrong with his audio? Why is it so nasally and weird? And then I go, oh, he's sick.
Yep. So I sound a little off, but it's okay. And we're here to talk about today's winner, the Age of the Dark Imperium.
The Age of the...
Yes.
I thought it was Era Indomitus.
Same thing.
Oh,
Listen, it's called Era Indomitus because Guilliman is in charge. And branding. Oh my God. The branding. I can't undersell how good he is at marketing his things. You will see as we go across.
He's the logistics guy, and part of logistics is a little bit of branding.
It's so good. You always know when an Ultramarines on screen. Nobody ever confuses him for anybody. You know what era it is. Why? Because he started a crusade. You'll see as we go through it. Branding, kind of a strong suit of his. Put that man in red, he is working in Marinello. That's just what's happening.
I have to ask him about his design team, because he's not the last Legion, and yet his symbol is an Omega.
No, it's fine.
It's a complaint I have had in my head since the beginning, and haven't wanted to bring it up, because I know it's probably going to get a comment.
You don't know why? I mean, if you were to ask him, it's obviously I'm the end. Come on. This is as good as it gets.
You're number 13. Calm down.
No. I mean, he say what you will about Guilliman. He does have a little bit of an ego at times. I think Alfarius.
He is a primarch.
No, but Alfarius put it best when I think he described him as Guilliman thinks he can solve war. And
you've told me this quote.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, Guilliman thinks he solved war and took notes while doing it. That shows you.
He's wrote it down. He's turned it into a mathematical formula.
I solved war. Here, copy my notes.
Y equals mx plus b, and that is war.
Yeah, and so he is... This is very much so an era defined by him. It is a very Imperium-heavy era. I can't... I mean, I'm going to be honest. What era isn't? But the main thing that is really important about this is... In the setting, stuff is always happening. People are always busy. Things are always kind of crumbling. So this doesn't feel too different to them. But for a long while, 40K was just kind of stagnant. Not much. It was the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. We're not 42. The tagline doesn't even work anymore.
Yeah.
For a very, very long time.
Well, it's the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, with the title of Warhammer 40K insinuating that this is the 40th millennium, that is now no longer in either of these millennia. It's now in the 43rd.
Yes, it is. It is. For a very, very long time, things kind of weren't moving or changing very much, because we all like our toy soldiers, and you change too much, we can't. Now is this?
You changed too much, and now the toy soldiers are kind of they're dead in the lore. I can't play them anymore because they were canonically annihilated in line 432, chapter 20 of this 300th installment of this book series.
Yeah, so not much was happening, and a lot of the stuff was just kind of stuck until this era began. For us, is a lot, and I'm gonna be honest. It's given people something to be mad about every week. A lot has changed, as you can imagine. Whew. Wow. Some things.
That's the
great.
game.
Some things.
Instead of doing one big end times like in fantasy, they're now doing a bunch of tiny micro end times.
No, because some of it's objectively good. The necrons are just up now. I've never met anybody asking for the old crons. That's just not a thing.
We love to see the guys that won the universe winning.
Yeah, so the necrons are just doing great right now. The way they brought back Guilliman, honestly, of all the... Look, you go back in time, you tell me they're bringing Guilliman back, I'm like, oh, God. because he's going to come back in the most clearly protagonistic way possible, right? But honestly, they did it in a way that moves forward the Eldar story.
Which is cool.
Who does that? Who does that?
A good writer.
You know? So there's been a lot of hits, some misses, but this has been an era defined by change. I mean, for goodness sake, even the timeline's not set in stone because they just keep moving stuff around. So it's really, really, really hard to pin down exactly when it starts.
Also the fact that you measure your like in-game time as like in millennia, it gives you a lot of like wiggle room for where to have events happen because you have an entire millennium to work with. But also it makes things a lot confusing because you have an entire millennium to work with.
Yes, and also the Black Library has great writers. They're pretty much like all good. Dates aren't their strong suit. I'm just gonna be honest. I feel like they need a calendar on the wall, and I don't blame them either. You're keeping track of 42,000 years.
It's also
really like 12,000, but still, that's a lot of time.
It's also a couple dozen writers. It's not just one writer, which means you would need to have like a Google Doc that has a big timeline document.
And the warp messes with time too.
Like
it's just asking consistent dates out of GW is an exercise in futility. However, we do know pretty much most people can agree it starts either right with the fall of Cadia or right after the fall of Cadia, when we got that great big massive line that everyone has a different name for. You know, you have the Great Rift, the Cicatrix Maledictum, Gork's Grin, Everdust, the Warp Scar, the Mouth of Ruin, the Crimson Path. Everyone has a name for this. The Devourer of Hope. The Dethedian. Like, there are so many names for this because it sucks for everyone. However, I still think the Kin have the best name for it, which is
nothing.
Yeah, nothing. They don't name it. It's great.
Don't give it that should not be named.
Yeah. Well, no, it's more like if we name it, we give it power, and it's not worth it.
It's the inverse of it that should not be named.
Yeah, and so like they name the storms that it spits out because those are inconvenient, and we should probably learn to path around like hurricanes, maybe. But other than that, they have no name for it.
Do they have like the same system that we do for hurricanes? Because when we have a hurricane, we literally go down a table of names. Do they have the same thing going on?
These are dwarves, so probably.
It'd be cool to see that table. GW now.
Well, the Kin actually used to have a lot, and I suspect they're going to get a lot now that they've been redone really, really well. That's another thing that happened during Era Indomitus. A lot happened during this time period, starting with probably the Mechanicus' worst day.
What do you mean? Did everything get hit with an EMP? Because that sounds like the worst day for them.
Kind of.
Including the toasters.
See, imagine you're a member of the Mechanicus. You're on Earth. You're just minding your business. You're drinking your motor oil, and you're maintaining any number of miles of tubing and pipe and steam and probably Ethernet that runs to the Golden Throne. This thing is huge. It is a mountain. It is a whole thing. Mm-hmm. This requires a small army to maintain. You probably just like clock in and get to it, and you're not even sure. The work is mysterious and important. Mm-hmm. That's how they treat this. Like, can you tell when I was sick, I was watching Severance. Very good for everyone.
I think of all of the factions to have like a severed program, the Mechanicus are probably the most likely.
The only bad thing about Severance is it is yet more fuel onto the mustache fire, which is a dangerous thing. Milchik makes it work too well, and it makes me wonder things. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, so they clock in, they're doing their job. It's a normal day-ish day. You know, it's vaguely radioactive. You're running around. And then
I feel like that it's still a normal day. For the Mechanicus at the very least.
Yes. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, you hear a sigh and everything shuts off. Can you imagine? Just, you are a guy turning a bolt on a valve, and you can just see the pressure drop. And everything just stops.
I'm displeased.
I'm so mad we don't have a book about this. I would pay any amount to see the exact moment, because the Golden Throne just shut off.
Wait, really? Like fully for a moment.
The crack opened, and whatever that was so stressful, the Emperor just for a moment. But they have no way to talk to him. They have no way to know. The throne just stopped working for a little bit. The light of the Astronomicon, off.
That's no good.
Yeah.
That's really not good.
Oh, they are losing their minds.
I imagine the collective heart sink that every single member of the Mechanicum had in that room.
There is no way I could describe the terror, which is why I need a book about this. Because the only thing that would be the real life equivalent is if we still had Jesus up on a cross somewhere, and for some reason, the entire internet connected to that cross. That is the linchpin for everything we use every single day. GPS, thanks to Jesus. JESUS, yes, that's how we get around.
See, it's so funny because that allegory, or not allegory, analogy metaphor. Is the word. Metaphor. That metaphor, yes, that's the word I'm looking for, it sounds so insane when you think about it that way, but then it also perfectly describes exactly what is going on.
And then for some reason, Jesus just shut off. I'm just a janitor.
And he didn't even take original sin with him.
Yeah, no, I'm just a janitor. Somehow this is my fault now too. Everyone is wigging out, and that's the opener to this era. That's how we started. I'm telling you, I would have heard that immediately gone gray.
Yep.
Immediately just gray line. And the longer this went on, more gray. Almost overnight. That is the single most important thing in the entire Imperium. Bar none.
It was the one thing that needed to not shut off, and it shut off.
Nothing matters more. Nothing has more focus on it. Nothing has more prayers going to it. And nothing has such a carte blanche budget to it. And then it just shuts off. Oh,
it's immediate full body headache.
Oh yeah, and then you want to know what the next thing that happens is? The second siege of Terra. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Earth doesn't get attacked often, but whenever it does, man, oh man.
What do you mean? Siege of Terra 2.
Yes, I mean the siege. Well, it's formerly known as the Battle for Lion's Gate. This is the exact moment. I imagine everyone in the setting knew GW was up to something, because
everyone in the setting, you mean guilliman looked to the sky and saw a big black library logo and went, uh-oh.
Okay, imagine the Emperor shuts off. That's a problem. That's a real big problem. Is he still alive? Well, Custodian's armor's still getting blackened by being near him, so that's good, right?
He's at least not fully turned off.
The elephant's foot's still radioactive. It didn't stop. Okay, that's good. It's just not keeping up GPS anymore, It's a problem, but this is fine. Don't freak out. Don't freak out, okay? A little bit of civil unrest. It's okay. We can get that under control. Nobody can ship anything. Well, that's kind of a problem. There's a line in the sky. That's kind of a problem. What do you mean the people are gathered outside and drawing 8s on everything?
That's bad.
Why are they using their fellow man as paint?
A cornate siege, you say?
Yes. The sky on Earth rips, and out of the holes, cohorts of demons start falling through. Probably divisible by 8. I'm not even going to lie. So 888, 8088. Just pick any number. A lot of them. So many of them. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Khorne besieging something is already bad. Khorne besieging Earth?
Mm-hmm.
Really bad. Khorne besieging Earth, and God has shut off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's day one of this era, baby.
This is the point where we. This is the point where the average imperial citizen starts saying, "Why am I living in historical times? Couldn't I have been living in the one part of history that a GW writer was not touching?"
Yes, if I was in line to be fed to the Golden Throne, please turn it back on. Turn it back on. What? Whatever. No, it's whatever. So that happens. Obviously, I would say every custodian woke up, but they've been awake. Let's be honest. These are his finest creations. They were never taking a day
Do they
off.
even need to sleep?
No,
I'd imagine.
no, they do not, because we've had like records from a custodian, like their thought process, and it wasn't interrupted for hundreds of years. So maybe I don't want to say no with 100% chest, but off memory, 99% of me says they don't need sleep, but could probably like benefit from it every millennia or so.
There are certain animals that are able to like half sleep. Not like a full sleep, but not like really a nap.
We've had custodian thought like the inner workings of a custodian's head before, and that's not possible.
Okay.
Like they themselves have said, like, a fly could have passed me in that moment and I would have sliced it in half. They're almost always very alert. I would assume part of the warping it takes to make a custodian, one of the things they change is, because sleep is all like a lot of stuff building up. It's how we sort memories. It's a really
like a
restorative
chemical flush
time
of the brain.
Yes,
yeah.
it's a very restorative time for the brain. The reason you can't oversleep is your trash bag's only so big. You can't sleep so long you get a bigger trash bag suddenly. But I'd imagine as part of making a custodian, they give them just a trash bag that can be measured in centuries.
Yeah.
Where it's like
you have your once a century sleep,
and in those 8 hours, a millennia is sorted. That feels very custodian.
Don't
quote me on
8
that.
hours would solve that, but
Don't quote me on it. Custodians are so absurd, dude. 6 million to 1. 6 million to 1. These are people who we put Bill on the job, put a W next to his name.
Yeah.
He hasn't even left yet. Put a W next to his name.
No. I'm saying, yeah.
What is the mission? He went and did it. Enough said.
Just W stamp.
Yes.
Win.
And is he not back yet? That means the mission's not done yet. Just that simple. And so they didn't really need to like get up or muster or any of that. They just got right to work. And even then, it still took 2,000 of their deaths to push this back.
So
1 in 5 custodians died.
we only have 8,000 now.
Maybe not now, but at that time, yeah.
Oh. Wait, we can make new ones?
Yeah, it's very... The bill for a custodian would bankrupt small worlds. Like, you don't want to be making many more, but we can, This is just like I'm not joking, to make a custodian, because typically it's like Space Marine armor, and everything is measured by like the 100,000s, so it's like, it's whatever, like how much could one set of armor cost? A lot, but not really when the Imperial budget's being looked at, right? I promise you custodian line items are their names. Who's Terry? One of the 10,000. Explains why he costs so much. God. So it's you don't want to be making them very frequently because it'll bankrupt you.
Yeah, it's not.
You can't keep throwing them into the meat grinder. But yeah.
It's kind of like you need an entire world's worth of materials and money just to make one.
He put up such a strong offensive that 1 in 5 custodians die. I need you to deep what that means. This is
that's significant.
Second siege of Terra. You know who the first guy was?
It's Horus.
Horus.
Yeah.
That's what it previously took. In the 10,000-ish years since, nothing.
No.
And then Khorne, in the exact moment everything breaks, he goes, I can take Earth. And that's why I love that man. He has hustle. And he actually, they would, I don't know if they were going to lose or not, but it did take Guilliman coming in with Primaris Marines to actually win the day.
Yeah.
So.
There is that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was not insignificant.
It also gave us some very, very good art because we so rarely get to see custodians working. This gave us a lot of custodians just whooping.
We love to see the Banana Boys get some attention.
Who doesn't love to see the Banana Boys? We got to see them in all their glorious golden armor, but some in blackened armor from being within that room. Some had robes going on. My favorite shot is just a single custodian and 3 Sisters of Silence keeping it's so good. It's so good. And still 2,000 died. Deep that.
This was a huge push to win over Terra.
Yes. This is the closest Khorne has... First of all, this is the closest any Chaos God's gotten to just killing the Emperor, period.
Imagine if all 4 had shown up.
Precisely. Yeah.
It would have been a win.
You figured out the exact problem that everyone realized at the same time.
This was just one of them.
I only saw 1 number and 1 color. I didn't see no 9s. Did you see any 9s?
No.
Did you see any blue?
Maybe a
I didn't see any
7?
blue. Did you see any 7s? I didn't, and my health is fine.
No sensor bars appeared in the video, so like they didn't show up.
Yeah. You know the one image of Guilliman smoking?
Yeah, that. Yeah.
I imagine him reading the battle report and just seeing Khorne just...
Yep.
Okay.
This was a problem. This was a problem.
And so that's how that happened. Also, our introduction to primaris marines, which is, pretty cool.
Wait, this was the introduction?
And now you see why people were kind of mad. Yeah.
I mean, a good time for them to show up, but like also like...
Yeah. We'll get to the primaris marines in a little bit, because this wasn't the only place that was sieged instantaneously. The Rock was too. Yeah.
How do they even know where the Rock is? It's always moving. And they're also the most paranoid legion.
Yep, but with a whole demon prince. Yeah.
Who?
A whole demon prince arrived onto the Rock and tried to take a bunch of their stuff, but you know what? Just couldn't. And
was it one of Khorne's?
Irrelevant. I mean, they came.
Was it Bellicor?
They came. They tried. They failed spectacularly. And give me a moment. I gotta go check the basement real quick. Which is where the chapter master goes after this failed siege and finds the Luther labeled cage is now open. Yeah, Luther, man who killed the lion. Luther, second person all 4 chaos gods have looked at once. That Luther is now loose.
That's not good. Is he the demon prince?
Nah, but
no, because he couldn't.
Can you imagine?
This is not good.
I need you to understand. The Dark Angels have levels of secrecy, so his existence redacted. You shouldn't know about this. Mm-hmm. And suddenly he's out and about. How do you put an APB on somebody who should be dead? Like, you can't put Osama on like the most wanted list.
I mean, you can.
You can't. We agreed. He's gone. What do you mean he's back? Like
somehow Osama has returned.
Like we did this in the most official way we could as a nation. We had John Cena announce it. By the way, that's how I found out. Real talk.
You found out
before.
You didn't see the clip. I
didn't hear it from Obama. I heard.
You didn't see the clip of Obama walking up to the podium, proud, going, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him."
It was John Cena. And so much worse, because if I remember correctly, this is like a program that airs to kids, right? And so you couldn't say we killed Osama bin Laden. So what they said is, what was it? It was, we have caught and compromised Osama to a permanent end. Yeah. That's what John Cena said. That is how Kid Me found out about that. I'm not kidding. And again, I need you to understand this. He knew before the press. John Cena was one of the first people in the U.S. to know. I think The Rock was the first civilian to know. We still haven't figured out
why. Was one of his friends like one of SEAL Team 6?
I have no idea. And to this day, nothing like it has happened since. Like, give me 5 minutes with The Rock. I'd love to ask how. How did you know? Yes, and so we have caught and compromised Luther to a permanent end. What do you mean he's out?
Well, there's a cartoon Luther-sized and shaped hole on the door where we keep keeping his corpse.
Yeah. And so the Dark Angels just...
that was a head scratcher for them, I assume. A very stressed out head scratcher. Maybe even like one of these.
Yeah, we'll get back to them in a moment because they're going to have their moment soon. First, we got to talk about Guilliman because he is risen, baby. He's technically this happened at the end of the previous era. This was like the big climactic moment, but like...
so he hasn't been risen. This is like right... He woke up to a siege.
Yeah. Seriously.
Someone shook him out of bed and said, "Hey."
Well, they didn't know at the time.
Hey.
Like,
help.
That part's kind of not relevant for this video because that's kind of more the end of the last era than anything else. But what you need to know is Guilliman is back. He is risen, and with him came the first set of retcons. Primaris Marines, baby. And the way they were introduced is very simple. They were always there. Like, they were always being worked on. Yes. Apparently, not referenced at any point, but just suddenly, oh yeah, by the way, before Guilliman left, like way back right after the heresy, he just trusted this random guy named Cawl with all 21 possible Primarch's genetic code, and just said, go to town and prove it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and he's been working on it nonstop for the last 10,000 years, and they were ready just in time. Now, between you and me, I think GW wanted to make different looking plastic toy soldiers that would get us, and unfortunately I have been got. So, like, I'm gonna be honest.
Did Belisarius Cawl come after, like, come from this, or was he a character established before this?
What do you think?
He came from this, didn't he?
Kind of.
That's a shame, because he's a cool character.
Oh, he's great now, but you gotta remember that's how Primaris Marines are shown off to everyone. Can you see why it wasn't taken?
I can also see why there's a little bit of controversy around the Primaris Marines, because me, a sci-fi brain who's been a fan of Halo, sees that and goes, oh, they just
kept improving.
You kept improving.
You kept iterating.
You had Spartan 2s, and now you had one of the Spartan 2s, and you went, shoot, we need more of these. So you made the Spartan 3s. The Spartan 3s were cheap, but too cheap.
Already one.
And then you made the Spartan 4s and went, this is the perfect middle ground. This makes sense to me as like a sci-fi brained human being. But then you tell me, these came about really suddenly with the advent of one of the Primarchs. This feels like this feels like GW needed some more funding.
Yeah. And this is a thing that
so they hit the more funding button.
Pretty much. This is a thing that I find GW is the most guilty of. Listen, 40K has retcons all the time. I cannot tell you how many things are different between the very first editions and today. That would be a very fun video. Basically, almost nothing except for like the core concepts are in the same place.
It was the 80s. It's right? A lot of time. A
lot of stuff has changed, and I
rework some stuff.
Mind that. What I mind is this has always been happening. Look away, which kind of upsets me because now I'm okay with Primaris. Because they didn't just stop there. They fleshed out Cawl a lot, and they made it interesting. And then we got the whole Alpha Primus thing. And then we got a bunch more. And critically, we got to see people reacting to Primaris Marines, not just regular people, but other Space Marines. Some going, oh, thank goodness. I was the last one, bro.
Yeah.
It was just me.
This wasn't necessarily just GW unleashing a thing and saying it always existed.
Yeah.
This was something unleashing in the universe, and so we got to see the story implications of new guys just unlocked.
Yes, and some Marines reacted to it the way people did. What the hell is that? You can't do that. Which... That's still happening.
Yeah.
That's still a
because
problem.
I assume
there are some chapters you said
it's not been that long. People are still reacting to people are still learning of their existence.
There are some chapters you send Primaris Marines to, and they just don't ever see combat, have a record, or are ever seen again. So that's scary and sketchy.
Yeah.
There's also like a little bit of Space Marine insecurity coming from it. Of hold on, wait, they're just better. Wait a minute.
What does that mean for me?
Yeah.
What happens to me?
It's really weird feeling like you're the iPhone 14 and the 15 just came out. You're like, oh, that's a bad example because those aren't a big change. You get the idea.
Yeah.
Where you
must understand
being.
they unlocked Space Marine intelligence, the thing that will summarize tyranids into a puddle on the ground.
All Space Marines do that. It's a very weird feeling of being biologically bettered, like that's just it's very weird, and they're actually playing with it, and so that is very cool. Sometimes though, James in his workshop just says this is happening. Big thumb.
Yeah, it'd be cool if it was this has been happening in secret, and now everybody's learning about it.
I actually fully agree about the in secret portion because that's basically what happened is we have one guy with the genetic code of all 20 Primarchs.
Yeah,
keep him
Nobody's
secret.
Gonna be happy about that. If Belisarius was like somebody in the basement nobody knew about until...
The only way Cawl got away with his work, seeing the light of day, is because Guilliman was standing right behind him going, this is the correct thing to do. And so that part, actually, I don't mind it at all. They really stuck the landing. But in the beginning, woof.
Yeah.
Woof.
No, I think it's a better play to have it like, okay, yeah, no, he's been developing these guys in secret. Nobody's known about it. That's a better example than we've always been researching this. What?
Yes, and that's what they wound up going with. And it actually came out pretty good at the end of it. I personally like them. And then they also did the whole Rubicon Primaris thing where if you are sufficiently tough enough, you can cross the river, i.e., you guys love these guys' models so much, sure, we'll make you another one.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, we'll take your money. But it is
Want an updated Titus model? Sure, here you go. He's Primaris now.
It is cool though because they are playing with that from a narrative standpoint too. It's not just lip service. So I overall think it's a very good change. But when it first came out, oof.
Yeah.
It was.
No, I get that. Like the hard sudden retconning seems very.
And now with that, we have all the pieces in place for some branding to take over, because this is when the official Indomitus crusade begins.
The logistician has now arrived and is about to do some
pretty
hard
much.
design.
He declares a new crusade because our tax code's a mess, but we know how to fight, and I at least know that. And so it is basically to retake everything that has been lost, which at this point is everything, because light bulb's still not on.
How long is the light bulb going to be off for?
It's been a couple days. It's still not on. And so he starts this crusade out to slowly bring worlds back. By the way, you got to remember, light bulbs off. Not every planet is experiencing time in the same way. So on Earth, it's been a couple of days. Some places it could have been months.
Yeah.
Some places it could have been years. Some places, like the whole other half of the galaxy, it turned off and never turned back on.
Yeah, because a line.
They aren't told about that. You just can't see the light of the Emperor.
It just turned off and no explanation. To be fair, a line.
I mean, you can infer, but that's really not good. It's really not great.
So they're falling to chaos slowly as we speak.
Not yet. Right now,
No.
Indomitus Crusade has begun, and slowly but surely it is reaching outwards from Earth, basically grabbing anything and everyone with a pulse and going, you are part of the Crusade now, welcome. And some people are okay with that. Some people are very, oh, thank goodness, a Primarch is here. Oh, happy day, we are saved. Others are like, what do you mean?
I was just supposed to sit here and farm. I already turned my sword into a plowshare. What do you mean I have to bend it back?
And they're doing this at the very beginning stages of this crusade. It's not like anything grand. It's super duper short jumps because there's no astronomicon. So you
have to gamble with every jump. You
Yeah.
might as well make the gamble as low risk as possible.
make the Hail Mary, shorten that Hail Mary as much as you possibly
We need
can.
the lowest stakes because we can't just be losing ships like that.
And now this is the most funny thing, because after 33 days, the Astronomicon did turn back on, and everyone was like, whew.
I love the restraint not to say 40 days and 40 nights.
You know, they did wait. However, this is also very conveniently right when the avenging sun returns in the armor of fate, wielding the Emperor's sword and beginning a crusade, critically actually liberating worlds at this same time. And, like, healing blindness wherever he goes? Like, there's a lot happening right now.
The restraint to not say 40 days and 40 nights has
Well,
now been lost.
Now, here's the thing. Like, he is healing blindness. This is like a nurgle disease going on that he's able to, like, burn away.
I see.
But, like, to your average rube, I was blind and now
Yeah.
I can see. Like, I'm following him.
Thank you, Jesus allegory.
Yeah, so it very quickly, this story begins to take hold, this narrative, as more worlds are freed, the Emperor's light becomes brighter and brighter. He wants us to crusade. This is literally his will. And now you can see why this crusade's got such hands.
Yeah, because people saw, his son is back. It's time.
This is also
This
great.
is the moment we've been waiting for.
Yep, this is also a great time to mention Lion happened, and because of that, the Great Psychic Awakening has begun, which, if you ask the right person, they'll just call it the Age of Witches. Psychers are everywhere, and they're a lot stronger. This ranges from, like, the aeldari turning into mini hurricanes, which is horrifying,
Yeah.
to, like,
For everybody else. I assume for the
Death
Eldar,
Guardsmen
they're happy.
just cast Fireball. No, it was a grenade, sir.
That's not right.
You know, so it's affecting every faction. Like, Orcs was a lot stronger suddenly. More demons everywhere. More psychers everywhere.
Yup.
Necrons don't like this very much. obviously, but other than them, everyone's... Oh, and Tau too.
Yeah, because that's a toy I can't play with.
But this is affecting from the bottom to the top. So it goes from like, well, now there's more psychers at the very bottom to at the very top. You have the Emperor reviving one of his sons and burning Nurgle's garden in the process. Everything is a lot stronger,
it's been scaled up.
Yes, that is exactly what is happening.
It's not necessarily that like things got wacky. It's just like a multiplier has been added.
My favorite about this is Magnus, a lot stronger. And I love it whenever Magnus is strong. He came back and rebuilt Prospero just because he could. And
I assume with just a single snap.
Pretty much. He showed up to the Space Wolves' home planet for no reason other to detonate ships in low atmosphere. He's a hater like that. It's great. But my favorite little thing that we've had hinted now and then is people dream of Magnus. That is how strong he has become right now. Psychers dream of this paradise where they can be themselves and there's somebody looking out for them.
And I assume they see a lot of pyramids in these dreams.
Yeah. It's great.
I
ignore the fact that most of them mutate when they get there, but that's neither here nor there. It's a Tzeentchian plot, baby. It's never going to be good for anybody, but
Tzeentch.
I love it. And speaking of Magnus, this is also a great time to bring up, this is the age of the Primarchs.
They just keep coming back.
We are at 25% Primarch saturation. Like, this is a lot. I don't think you understand, like, the loyalists coming back is always a big deal because those ones are hard pieces moved off into the void. The traitors less so because they are technically around.
Yeah, they've been around. They're just doing stuff.
They're just doing their own thing. However, this era has brought a lot of them front and center. Magnus, well, technically didn't pull up in this era. The one right before it is when he showed up. But this is how Mortarion returned because Guilliman came back and Mortarion said, "Oh, certainly not.
I'm getting you.
Oh, certainly.
I am simply getting you."
And I'm not going to lie, his reasons for coming back, in my opinion, not very strong. However, his aesthetics are so good, I don't care.
He came back sheerly for Primarch fight,
so cool
but they
looking.
made him so cool that it doesn't matter. That was the coolest Primarch fight.
So cool looking, plus like the whole Godblight thing. They got it, they stuck the landing, however, take off, you know. Angron's back. And Angron's great.
Doesn't Angron been back?
Like I said, with a lot of the loyalists, I mean, with a lot of the traitors, listen, they've been back, yes. Angron's an every 2-month problem.
Yeah.
That's not what Angron used to be.
Yeah.
Every 8 weeks, 8 days, 8 hours, 8 minutes, he keeps coming back with 8 bloodthirsters around him somewhere. You can count on one hand the amount of times we saw him before this.
Yeah.
He just keeps
Why does he keep showing up?
He just keeps
Can
showing
we stop having him show up?
And then now you also have Fulgrim back, slithering out of the woodwork, literally. You have none other than the Lion waking up, who we're going to get to him next. Like, the Primarch saturation has gone...
It's ever increasing.
Through the roof.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, we're at a good spot. Just please stop. We're at a very good spot. We're in a great spot. And the models look really good.
Can we stop after we bring Corax back? Because I want to see what they have to say, show, or do about Corax.
Because the problem is they're bringing them out at a rate... Look. Chaos is up. Of course, each of their champions returning kind of makes sense, you know? This is their time. They're doing a lot. And they're the type to see Khorne with Angron destroying planets, making Custodes' veins like twitch and get a little madder, and all that, and just go, okay, where's my guy?
This is a problem.
Where's my guy? He cracked a planet. What are you doing? Get out of the Goon Cave now! So that fully tracks that they would all have their representatives out in this new era, especially when you consider, like, again, the Emperor did a whole... for a moment there.
Yeah.
So that part makes sense to me. Sure. You know? The Imperium, obviously having 4 demon Primarchs bearing down on them, it needs some help.
Yeah.
It needs some help. Let's get some good boy Primarchs back. However, this is a lot. And I don't think I want to see more Primarchs.
We're starting to lose a little bit of like the human aspect of it, because I mean the drawing factor, at least for me when we first started, was like, oh yeah, it's grimdark, but the real appeal is like the indomitable human spirit of like, we're persisting despite. But like we're kind of getting like, you're more of the Superman fan than I am, but one of my favorite stories is like the people what's the Metropolis? The people of Metropolis starting to become really dependent. Like, oh yeah, we didn't
you have
even.
any idea how little that narrows down the Superman story here? That's just a thread. That's
Like-
just a thing. Batman regularly shows up to Metropolis and goes like, "Y'all just have no crime. You've never heard of a Two-Face before."
No,
have
it's
you?"
not no crime. It's just like there's a cat stuck in a tree, but we're not going to call the fire department to deal
Superman.
with it because Superman's just going to show up.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, we're starting to lose the human element because Superman keeps showing up.
well,
We're losing the guardsman because
I will say, every time they have brought a Primarch back on the Loyalist side, they've used it to advance some other faction. I love Guilliman advancing the Eldar plot, being actual proof that, hey, they're kind of coking right now.
No,
you
that's
know?
good. I do appreciate
the Lion
that.
waking up.
But
to
also
further-
since then he's kind of become an absentee godfather to that situation.
Kind of. You gotta
Because like,
remember,
yeah, he advanced the Eldar plot, but now what have the Eldar been doing since then?
that's a different problem. The Eldar haven't been shafted by Guilliman. They've been shafted by the thing they need, being in a Chaos God's realm.
Which was yet again
Very different.
still shafting because now it's been brought back with Fulgrim.
Very different. Anyway, and then you have the Lion coming back, and he actually pushes forward this new gods thing with Wormwood going on and Vashtorn. We're going to get to him later, obviously, because he's a big part of this. And so I do like the fact that it hasn't just been Loyalists return and Imperium plot moves forward. Like, honestly, I'm not going to lie, not a lot of the Legion's plots have moved forward now that Dad's back. Like, the Ultramarines have had a very fun time dealing with, okay, Dad's back. Let's not revere him like a god, but also he moved that pencil. I really liked the way he left that pencil after he died. Why did he move that pencil? And then a little bit of inadequacy because, like, for example, the guy in charge pre-Guilliman is now being hit with the full force fact that he is not as good as him and can never be.
It's like
so there's a little bit happening there. The Dark Angels have a little bit of plot happening, but like overall, a lot of the time the Primarchs have been better for the things around them than their Legion, which I quite like.
Yeah.
However, I do still think they're coming back way too hot and fast. However, gotta talk about the Lion.
This is why I keep saying they're like revving up for something big is going to happen soon.
That's just the entirety of this era.
Be it end times or be it.
The entirety of this era is just look at this plot thread, put it away. Look at this plot thread, put it away. Look at this plot thread, put it away. Have you not noticed that?
Yeah, no,
The
I've
Emperor
noticed
shut
that.
off. Bye bye. Indomitus Crusade is working. Bye bye.
No.
Gilliman's back.
I have
Bye-bye.
noticed the various different sets of keys being jingled past our
They
faces.
just keep jingling and throwing them away. Speaking of new set of keys, this one is Arthurian in nature. Lion's back. And so and that's
I
just a
can't
thing.
wait to see the biggest key ring, or if there even is one.
He came back pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. He was part of Arc Solomon, which is obviously very good. They gave him a lot of new powers, which is so cool.
The teleporting via forest
The forest
is very
walking
cool.
is so
Excuse me,
cool.
the teleporting via Johnson.
And him finding his own sons who have been branded as fallen and, saving them, making them the risen instead. Like, come on.
That's hot.
That's so cool. Him showing up as a counter almost directly to Angron. Because Angron keeps showing up and there is no logical defense to... He showed up in Milwaukee last week, then he was in Seattle, then Birmingham. Like, what? Memphis twice? Like, what is that? How do you plan for this? Unless you have every single possible point protected, which is just not possible. But the Lion can respond because the Lion can just
He can just walk into a forest and then be wherever the action is.
And we've already seen this happen once with him force feeding him the Emperor's Shield. It's so cool. Him having his own mini warp area. So cool.
Which is, I think this is perfect because it's exactly what the Imperium needed.
Yes.
Is just an Angron counter.
Not just an Angron counter, but like you now have Vashtor who's rising up as this new Chaos God and wants to be a Chaos God and has the motion to maybe make it happen. He duct taped a whole planet together into this super weapon named Wormwood And that's just a problem that the lion is very equipped to deal with, because that was my yard. Why would you do that?
Those are
you do
very
that?
familiar streets to him. You can deal with it.
Yes, and so the lion's got a very weird niche right now, but honestly, very needed in the Dark Imperium. So he's doing great. Let's put that set of keys away. Vashtor's here, guys. I should have brought some keys. And he's going to be the new Chaos God, apparently. He has been raising hell from mostly Dark Angels, I won't lie, but kind of everybody. He built Arcs of Omen, which are horrifying weapons. I think we have an episode on them. If not, we definitely should make one. And he is looking for, I kid you not, the key.
The key.
To open the lock.
The lock.
And get the weapon.
Oh yeah, I do remember. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot about this moment until this exact moment we brought it up. And I don't remember it for the objects in question themselves, but for the fiasco that is, what are all of these things?
Why don't we give them names? You know what? It's whatever. It's fine. Because these are just a set of jingling keys in front of us right now. And they're Vashtor shaped. And so maybe he's going to be a new Chaos God. But really, we're actually going to see some progression from him, because he's moved Wormwood into this area of space that the Necrons have defected. They've said, no warp, please, in an area.
And somehow he got warp in there.
Concerning. And so, yeah.
I'd imagine it's the fact that
we don't know.
He's a bit... this is me theory crafting right now. I'd imagine it's just that he's more like techie than any other... Like putting, he has put
found a technical workaround.
He's put the demon in a machine, and that's the technical workaround. This isn't chaos. This is a demon. It's a machine. That has horns. Ignore the horns. It's a machine.
It's very cool. I quite like it a lot. Obviously, something that's been happening, a set of keys that's been jingling the entirety of this era, is Leviathan, which is the way Tyranid invasions tend to work. Is we spotted a whole hive. Kill it. And they did. They killed a whole hive fleet, and it's great, and we never see it again, and it's fantastic, and like, yippee, except in the case of Leviathan.
Yeah, because was it that it came from an odd direction?
Well, the thing about Leviathan that's very strange is it took it took like a hard left to kill every Blood Angel for some reason. We still don't know why, but it chose that. It chose violence, and it was beaten back, thankfully. It did take out a lot of chapters, though.
Yeah.
Seriously. And we charged it. It was very good. It was very neat. And then from the left side, suddenly there's something beelining it for Earth. And they have the same bioforms as Leviathan, and our samples are coming back Leviathan.
So were these two branches of the same hive a full galaxy apart from each other?
Either Leviathan's all the way around, or it's coming from beneath or above. We're not sure. But we know Leviathan is huge and has been a consistent problem.
Hence the
everyone. Name. The kin just don't deal with it. That's not my problem.
Just run away.
The Tau, thankfully, have not had too much to deal with in that regard. The orcs love them. They were tied up in a massive brawl for the longest time there, which, again, solid plan. The orcs are bigger than ever, holding a massive waaagh and running forward at full speed. How do we slow them down? Just some Tyranids at it.
Yeah. You slow both down at the same time with the same solution. However,
should anyone win,
you do make both of them stronger because they both benefit from fighting each other ad infinitum.
Yes, and so that's the thing. Obviously, they've been one of the biggest things Indomitus keeps bumping into. I mean, you look up anything era Indomitus and you will see them fighting.
It seems like there's a Tyranid domination happening right now in a lot of 40K media.
They beat the orcs.
Yeah.
So
that would do it.
They are currently the biggest bad if you ignore Chaos doing its whole thing. Like, Leviathan...
They're the biggest bad of right now, but I think the biggest overall bad is probably Chaos.
Yes, and so Guilliman is working really hard to try and best this, but... Man, he's got so many problems. And there's a non-zero chance of eating a Primaris Marine, so
he's got too much on his plate somehow, because his plate's galaxy-sized. I don't know how the hell he has too much on his plate, but he does.
Mm-hmm. And so, obviously, everything happening in this era could be its own episode. We're just speeding past it because there is so much going on. But you see how, when you go from a pretty stagnant era to...
Everything is moving at once. It's like, whoa, what are we doing here?
The Plague Wars happened. That was a whole thing where Terran got out of bed, wiped the crust out of his eyes. crust out of his everything. I mean, it's Mortarion. He is just a generally crusty human being. And then he decided, I will wage a plague war all over Ultramar.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I declare a plague war. Yeah, which killed the guilliman. That was just the thing. He won, proper. But, the Emperor's gotten a lot stronger, burned a Nurgle's guard and said, hey, you're redeemable, but don't try this again. I brought you into this world, so help me, I can take you out.
I have to ask, is this before or after a Grey Knight carved his name into
this is after, so you still got, Heart Kaldor Drago in there somewhere. Yeah. His life's not... His immortal life is not going very great. If Magnus lost the hardest during the heresy, I would have to say Mortarion probably lost the hardest.
Is losing the hardest post the heresy.
They have just... I mean, for goodness sake, Mortarion's the only Primarch to have ever arrived as a boss fight in a game, and it's beatable. Come on.
I mean...
Poor Morty.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be the tankiest one.
And... I mean, he is. He's just got a couple weak points. I don't know.
Carving his name into his heart is one of the worst
things
things
so wacky
they've ever done to a Primarch. That is one of the most disrespectful. It makes Prospero seem like an inconvenience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
because Prospero is just like, okay, this is mass annihilation. But the carving a name into his heart is targeted personal
by Grey Knight.
Hate.
Yeah, not even by another. Yeah, that's a whole thing. The Eldar have been looking for a bunch of swords to try and bring this god of death back, and for the longest time, last sword was being used as a butter knife in Slaanesha's kingdom. But recently, Fulgrim came out with that butter knife.
So,
things could be happening.
Maybe.
But, another set of keys, throw them away, move on. More and more Necrons keep waking up. Another set of keys, throw them away. That is, I would say, the biggest complaint a lot of people have about this era.
Is it does seem like
good
GW...
that a lot is happening.
Yeah, but
however,
it's not connected at all. It's all individual key rings being shaken at us and then tossed and then shaken and tossed.
And so maybe this is set up for cinematic universe. I don't know. It's not to sell more books, I'll tell you that much, because they're still selling those. It's not to sell more toy soldiers.
They've been selling those,
they're not struggling to sell toy soldiers, so I don't know why. But this is a lot, and I do not know where it ends, or how this ends.
See, okay... I don't know. I have been I took a long break from viewing anything like a Destiny for a while. This is a side tangent that will loop around. This branch will come back.
No, this is perfect, because I was just going to ask you what you think of the entire.
I took a break from looking at anything Destiny. I haven't played the game in a while, but I've kept up with the story, kind of. Again, I took a break from the story and have just recently come around to it. And it's very bizarre because, looking at it, it's done now. They finished it. They finished the whole 10-year saga recently. I don't know if you've heard anything about that, but I
like games that respect my time.
Yeah, the final shape was kind of the end of this whole 10-year saga that they've been doing since the start of the first game. And it's kind of weird because it's cool to see this conclusion, but it feels like the last 3 years of this story have been individual. It feels like the same thing. It feels like individual key rings being jingled in our faces as players and then tossed aside. And then they brought some of these key rings back for the final big all out conclusion, but not all of them. And so this is the thing that kind of worries me about individual key rings being jingled in our faces is not all of these matter, and it feels like you don't have a plan.
Precisely.
You're bringing out key rings to jingle in our faces because you don't necessarily have a plan for where this story is going. And so you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks with us. And you'll eventually try and tie that all together when you realize what is the most emotionally effective, which is what happened for Destiny and what I worry might happen for
Do you know what
this?
What has never suffered from this, despite having a very large world? League.
Really?
It has always felt like there's a cohesive direction things are going in, and it has never felt like jingle keyring throw away, jingle keyring throw away. Not at this fast of a rate. They still do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm saying it is
a free to play MOBA. It kind of needs to be like a keyring jingle because that's what gets new players into it. But
yeah, but there's a consistent thread with things, and it's very rare for something important to just get chucked away and not thought about anymore, you know? Like, the only one I can think of is when they did the whole with Bork. The Ruined King. There we go. Sorry, I'm still sick. So
Yeah, I remember
the whole Ruined King thing.
I remember that.
And Yorick had no part to play in it, pretty much. And I was like, come on.
I don't know. I only know.
You don't know what that is.
I only know
what
as
that
much
is.
as you told me about. I do remember, like,
Oh, I'm not doing that. Yeah, but
I do remember, like, back in the day, that event and, like, you describing, like, all of the lore points to me, and, like, it seemed like a big all-out conclusion, honestly, for a lot of things.
not a conclusion. Just like, you gotta remember.
It seemed like a big player was being brought into the field,
and
like
a complainy twink.
Yeah.
So that one wasn't great, but other than that,
literally a bleeding heart twink.
Yes. But other than that, they've been. They tend to keep things very consistent. They very, very rarely hard relegate a whole area to doing nothing at all. They've managed it very well, and I can only hope and pray that GW manages this in the same way. We will see, though. There's a lot of pieces, obviously, and from what it sounds like, more pieces are to come.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
I hope it doesn't go the way of Destiny. Like, it's really weird to see how much has been tossed aside from that. Like, I remember Destiny 1, like, the Rise of Iron, like, a bunch of, like, Iron Lord stuff happening and a bunch of Siva stuff, and I don't think that was ever, like, touched on again, other than maybe some offhand, like, oh, yeah, this thing's back.
Yeah, Destiny, man. I wanted to love that game so bad.
For some reason, one of the, like, honestly, my favorite expansion in the entire series, the Taken King, they brought... it was the first time we had killed a god in the series, other than maybe Koda, and Oryx is back now.
Yeah, no, they
reason. We
will see. That does, however, bring it into this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let us know what you think of the new setup.
Mm-hmm.
We can certainly move some cameras around, and we probably will.
We're still tuning stuff.
But
yeah,
I'm curious to hear what you think, because we do this all for you, obviously. Tune in next week for a fun episode on something. You'll see.
Fun episode on something.
Mm-hmm. Fun episode on something, and you'll see, as well as the new poll. Obviously, we have a Patreon. We will see you there on Wednesday or here next week. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for being here. Oh, thanks for the well wishes too, because this whole cold, man. Jeez.
If you had any inkling of a thought to go get your flu shot, get it now, because I guess the flu has hands this year.
Apparently. Bye.